Good afternoon and welcome. And today we're going to talk a little bit about primary resources. I've been in this field for more than 20 years. I've given tours, I've given lectures, I've written a lot of articles as well as books, and I've also been in documentaries before. And one of the things that I always get asked by a lot of people, especially when I give presentations, where did you get all your information? And my response is, well, it's through primary resources. Well, what's a primary resource? Well, that's documentation of somebody who actually experienced or participated in a certain event in history that you're researching. And a primary resource comes in a form of a diary. It could be a form of a letter, books that were written by participants from the period. It can be manuscripts. Even today's society, you also have audio as well as video, so you can actually interview people that went through a certain event, and that'll be recorded for future use. Any researcher, whether they're a professional or even somebody who does it as a hobbyist, will tell you that primary resources are extremely important because of the fact that it connects you not only to that person, but you're actually reading their words, what they experienced. And because of that, you're basically interpreting that information, which would become a secondary resource. And that's what secondary resources are. It's a form of interpretation based upon the resource itself. But do be careful with primary sources, because sometimes one account will completely contradict another account. And I've ran into that numerous times. But for the most part, these resources are absolutely important and necessary for us historians or us researchers. Where do you find these primary sources? Well, the internet, for one, is excellent. You have the Library of Congress. There's also digital libraries that are out there that have a lot of primary sources to them. But then you have the smaller institutions like historical societies like us here in Shippensburg. We have a lot of primary sources in the forms of diaries and letters, manuscripts and such. But colleges, the archives of colleges, a lot of those institutions have excellent primary resources too. The downside to the smaller institutions is that not everything is available online, which means either A, you have to go there and find that resource yourself, or B, you have to pay them to print it out and have them mail it to you. But either way, original resources or primary resources are an excellent way of understanding the past, because that then in turn helps us to interpret their events. Another aspect that's very important, and I can go ahead and throw in the research triangle on top of that, because at the top of that triangle is documentation, which is your primary sources. But then you also have photographic evidence. So if something wasn't really written about in the past, sometimes you can find documented evidence through the form of photographs, which is an excellent form. But then you also have the artifact itself, which is a great resource. So an artifact, of course, is a living example of something that may have been used in the past. So between the documentation, the photographs, and the artifact, that's pretty much makes up the entire research triangle. So the next time you're doing research and you're interested in trying to gain primary sources, it's the best way to go. And what I love to do, and I'll use this as an example, rather than talking about how this one Civil War battle, where basically it was being carried out in the middle of the night during a severe thunderstorm, what I do is, instead of interpreting that in my own words, I use their resources or their actual words, and it actually brings a lot more meaning to the topic at hand. Until then, everybody, stay safe out there, and we will see you next time.